You know that feeling. You're doing a chore, maybe, I don't know, trimming some bushes, and you just grab whatever's sharp. Like maybe old kitchen scissors. And you think, yeah, good enough. Oof. But what if that choice, that really simple tool choice, actually hides this surprisingly deep layer of strategic thinking? Like problem solving, efficiency, things that could really change how you do things.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that peels back those layers on everyday stuff to find the, surprising insights. Today we're diving into the, surprisingly rich world of gardening scissors. We're drawing specifically from Notes on Gardening, part 647, on getting a simple pair of scissors for gardening. Our mission today, to pull out those practical insights, those aha moments from this source. We want to see how a simple choice, maybe even a mundane one, can actually give you real advantages in gardening, maybe even other parts of your life. What hooked me right away was this idea in the source of using just a regular pair of scissors for gardening, which, feels kind of backwards when there are special tools out there. It made me think, what might you be overlooking?
In your tool shed, your workflow, your routines, let's dig in.
Yeah, it's a great place to start because usually when people think garden cutting tools, they think of what the source calls pruning snips. The specialized tools designed specifically for plants and, well, for good reason.
Exactly. The source mentions they're similar to traditional scissors. But what really sets these specialized snips apart from, say, my desk scissors, what's their main job in the garden?
Well, it's interesting because while they might look a bit like regular scissors, their design is actually very tailored. We're not just talking sharp. A lot of them are what we call bypass pruners. You've got two blades passing each other like scissors, making really clean cuts. Those are perfect for live stems, less crushing, helps the plant heal faster.
Okay, so bypass for live stuff.
Right. Then you have anvil pruners. Sharp blade hits a flat surface. They're often better for deadwood, but they can kind of crush live stems more. So the type matters. But the source seems to be hinting at the need for that delicate, precise cut you get, probably from bypass snips for general trimming. Things like herbs, deadheading flowers, shaping small plants. They're usually smaller too, lighter, designed to get into those tight spots without wrecking nearby leaves. It's all about plant health and, how things look.
So it's not just cutting, it's how it cuts.
Yeah.
And the plant's long-term health, okay, that makes total sense. They're the precision tools. But then our author does something kind of surprising, makes this strategic shift. Instead of using these purpose-built snips, they decide to use a regular pair of scissors for one specific garden area. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Why? Why would an experienced gardener sort of downgraded their tool like that?
Right.
It feels a bit odd at first.
And this is where the author gives us these really practical, really strategic reasons, two of them. The first one's pretty straightforward. Cost effectiveness. Specialized tools, those pruning snips, yeah, they can cost more up front. But think about it. It's not just the first purchase. What if you need several? Or you're setting up different garden beds and you want separate tools for each. Grabbing a regular, cheaper pair of scissors becomes a smart money move. Frees up cash, or just lets you get more tools for separation without spending a fortune.
Right. Simple economics. But
Right.
there's more to it.
Oh, yeah. The second reason is where the real deep dive value comes in. It's all about disease prevention. The source is explicit. It's a good practice to use separate tools for each gardening area to prevent the spread of pests and diseases, especially if one area is having an infestation. This is huge and easily missed. It's way more than saving money. Like imagine one raised bed is doing great, another's got powdery mildew or aphids. Use the same snips in both. You basically built a little highway for those problems to travel on.
Wow, yeah, that's such a key point. Because you can't see it happening, right? You see the sick plant, but not the tiny spores or bacteria hitching a ride on your tool. It makes you think bigger, beyond just the plant you're cutting, to the whole garden system. Like if your prize roses have black spot and then you use the same pruners on your healthy tomatoes, you're actively potentially spreading an epidemic. It's not just about cost, it's like garden biosecurity. Especially if you know one area has issues. That's powerful preventative care.
Exactly. And the author uses this fantastic analogy to really drive it home. They say, this is similar to how I use a different net for each of my aquariums or outdoor ponds when fish keeping. Anyone who's kept fish knows how fast disease can wipe out a tank if you're not careful about separating things. One sick fish, boom, big problem. Same idea with plants. One infected leaf cut with shared scissors can cause widespread trouble. That analogy just perfectly highlights why isolation is so important for health, whether it's fish or flowers.
That is a brilliant analogy. Really makes the danger of cross-contamination clear. It's not just the kind of tool, but how you manage them across different zones. Makes me think of, kitchen hygiene too. separate cutting boards for meat and veg,
Hmm.
or workshop tools for different materials. Same principle. And importantly, the author isn't saying never clean your tools right. They add that practical bit. Even with separate tools, you should always disinfect your gardening tools with boiling water, rubbing alcohol, or the like. Hygiene is still key.
Absolutely. The separate tools are like your first defense, physical barriers between areas.
Mhm.
But the disinfecting, that's the ongoing maintenance, keeping everything healthy. It's a two-part strategy, like having different towels, but still washing them regularly.
Okay, right. Let's unpack this a bit more. We get the why for separate tools, the hygiene, but you mentioned that even regular scissors aren't all the same. The source talks about stationary versus kitchen scissors. So even when picking a regular pair, there's another layer of choice. It wasn't just grabbing any old pair off the counter.
Exactly. And this is where the decision-making gets really quite nuanced. The author didn't just grab any pair. They noticed a stationary pair and a kitchen pair were available, and importantly, both were the same price, but they specifically chose the larger pair. So, not random, it was a deliberate choice.
Okay, so what's the thinking there? Why bigger if smaller cost the same? Seems like a tiny detail, but you're saying there's a solid reason, like some kind of micro design thinking?
This is exactly where you see that thoughtful problem solving. The author gives two clever reasons. First, the longer blades will make it easier to reach into tight spots. Now that directly tackles one of the main advantages of those specialized pruning snips getting into dense plants. By picking larger regular scissors, they're kind of mimicking that function, getting similar reach, but with a tool chosen for other strategic reasons. And while the source doesn't get into metal types, a savvy gardener might also think, are these stainless steel, less rust? Or high carbon steel, sharper edge, but needs more care? For general garden use, especially damp conditions, stainless is often easier. But those longer blades are key for reach without awkward bending.
Okay, reach makes sense. Mimicking the specialty tool. What's the second reason?
The second one is just beautifully practical and honestly so relatable if you work with tools. The bigger size makes it much harder to lose. The author even admits something I've done countless times while juggling various tools during gardening chores.
Oh, definitely been there. Setting down a small trowel and then spending 5 minutes looking for it. Yeah.
Exactly. So this choice isn't just about cutting efficiency, it's about personal efficiency, reducing frustration. It's a simple, human-centered choice that stops a common, really annoying problem, saves mental energy, saves time.
That's brilliant. It's not just the cut, it's the whole experience. Reaching the branch, finding the tool again. It's like that situational awareness in design. How does the tool fit into how we actually use it? Reminds me of why some power cords are bright orange or why surgeons prefer certain handles. Minimize hassle, save brain power, save time. It really shows how these small details add up to thoughtful problem solving, real efficiency. It's not just get scissors, it's get the right scissors for this situation, thinking about everything from plant health to, well, your own sanity. Okay, so let's wrap this up. What are the big takeaways from this deep dive into, of all things, gardening scissors? First, we got the lowdown on specialized pruning snips, great for precision, clean cuts, especially thinking about how the plant recovers, bypass versus anvil, that matters too.
Absolutely. And then we saw the smart reasons, financial and practical, for sometimes choosing regular scissors. It's not just about saving money up front, but crucially, using separate tools as barriers against spreading pests and diseases between garden areas.
Yeah, that practice of tool separation, highlighted by that great fish keeping analogy, that was huge. Cross contamination is real, often invisible, and disinfection is still vital. And finally, that surprising wisdom in picking the right regular scissors. Not just any pair, choosing for better reach, maybe even thinking about the blade material and just making them harder to darn lose, saving time and hassle.
It really is all about making things easier, making your gardening work better, more resilient. But these ideas go beyond the garden patch, whether you're gardening, doing a hobby, managing work projects, even organizing computer files. Paying attention to the details of your tools, your methods, your environment. It can stop problems before they start, save you time, make you more effective. It's about being intentional, even with small choices, and seeing the knock-on effects.
So here's something to think about as you go about your day. What everyday tool, or maybe simple decision, in your world might have a hidden layer of strategy tucked inside? What could you optimize or rethink? Just by taking a moment for a quick deep dive for a surprisingly big advantage. We'll see you next time on the deep dive.